All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Thursday edition of the FNN Politics and Power series. Thank you guys so much. And as promised, you guys heard me talk about it briefly during the evening news rundown yesterday. Today, we will be interviewing Orange County District 2 Commissioner Christine Moore. And as I mentioned yesterday, this is kind of a follow-up, a continuation. We interviewed her, I want to say last year, a couple of years ago. So, and that was the time pre-pandemic. So we were able to actually sit close to each other, be able to talk to each other in person and basically have that one-on-one conversation. But today we're going to be able to, at least virtually, get your questions answered. So in the meantime, for those of you who may not have as much of an idea of who Commissioner Moore is, I'm going to give you guys a brief overview, a quick bio of who Commissioner Christine Moore is. Now, her brief bio says that she is a licensed real estate agent and a professional musician. Fun fact, she served on the Orange County Public Schools Board for 10 years between 2008 and 2018. She was elected to the Orange County Board of County Commissioners in November of 2018. And District 2 comprises Apopka, Ocoee, Lockhart, Tangerine, Zellwood, and portions of Pine Hills College Park in Orlando. Now, she's also a cum laude graduate of the University of Michigan in music performance and education, hence that fun fact of her being a professional musician. She has performed flute with the Brevard Symphony Orchestra, the Florida Symphony Orchestra, and Beautiful Music, and in many other venues. Additionally, she was employed as an adjunct professor at Valencia State College. So she certainly has a heart for education, guys, and she loves her community. I can certainly tell you that from the previous interview that we did. She definitely has a heart for the Apopka area. As a school board member, she was board certified, which is a distinction that is granted to those board members who serve with the highest degree of training in best governance practices. She regularly represented Orange County on the Florida School Boards Association's board of directors. She chaired the district-wide communications committee and is proud of the accomplishments achieved under her tenure, such as earning the Broad Prize for Urban Education in her district. And additionally, while serving, OCPS achieved the highest graduation rates in district history. Now, she has advocated for excellence as a school district, earned 3 Governor's Sterling Awards for efficiency and customer service. And in her local district, Commissioner Moore has founded a large arts and jazz festival and a school grounds beautification program. Now, in representing, the Orange County Board of County Commissioners, she serves on the board of directors for United Arts of Central Florida and Metro Plan Orlando. Now, she hails from Minneapolis, Minnesota, to a musician and a small business owner. She has 2 children and 2 precious granddaughters. We're going to hear a little bit more about that when we talk about how she has been handling the COVID-19 pandemic so far. So don't want to bore you too much. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Commissioner Christine Moore. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Mellissa, thank you for inviting me. This was really a treat. And I know everyone's had a hard time with the pandemic. So, it's just a fun time to talk to people because we can't really knock on doors, and community meetings have been virtually. So I really appreciate you inviting me to be here today.
No problem. And, thank you again for being available. Appreciate that. So yeah, let's jump into it. How have you and your family been handling the pandemic so far on a personal side? And then we'll talk about how things have been going in your district.
It's kind of a funny story because most of us in government and politics, we're just go, go, go. And now it was stay, stay, stay. And I have to tell you, I'm probably like a lot of your listeners that I have a beautiful backyard. I laid 5 pallets of sod myself.
Wow.
I had no idea how difficult that was, but it kept me outside. And of course, I did it before the heat. And we bought some bunny rabbits, and they stay at my house. And we put the fence outside, and the 2 granddaughters in there with their little Tykes chairs, and they play with the bunny rabbits for hours. So my granddaughter, though, is going back to school. She's in 1st grade, the older one, and she will be doing face-to-face. And we felt comfortable to send her back. Of course, she was the first 2 weeks on her little iPad, but we had to shuffle her from person to person because mommy's in nursing school. So, we have the challenges just like everyone else, and it has been difficult. And then my mother has been doing just fine, but she lost all of her activities. She was swimming, she was walking in the mall, and she ended up with some anxiety problems. And so, I just have great concern for our elderly population. And you'll hear when we get to that question later, I've been doing some things that you can tell that our own families and what we know is going on has influenced me to try to be a little bit help to the students and the elderly. So it's been challenging for my family, just like everyone else's.
Got you. And then talk a little bit about, your district and perhaps what you've been hearing from your constituents and what projects you've been able to take on during the pandemic to help out.
Well, specifically related to COVID and funding, most are aware that because we're such a large entity, over $500,000, the federal government sent us $123 million. And the Mayor Deming staff has just done a phenomenal job working with that. So we certainly were doing individual grants, $1,000, and those are all gone. Those went very, very quickly. There were $10,000 grants to small businesses. And one day my staff and we decided, we're going to go out in the community with all the information. And we visited daycares, nail salons. We were trying to get to those small mom and pops that, they don't necessarily have the time to listen to programs like yours or perhaps read the newspaper or whatever. And we had a heart for them. And we knew the daycares were all at this point, and this is 2 months ago now, running at 50% capacity. Nail shops have been closed for week after week. And then they had tremendous amount of expenses and getting the plexiglass and the masks and what have you. So we were trying to, get to the ones that might not normally hear about these grants. So as your listeners might be aware, the business grants did not completely utilize the entire amount of money. So we came back and broadened the criteria, and it closes tomorrow. So if there's a small business that has not received any federal government funding or has not yet received any, it's mostly towards the small business owner who might have been in their home and had a couple of employees off site. We opened that up to allow them to get some funding. But the new program, and I was very proud to be there. In fact, it's a funny story. It's a very funny story, and I can't believe I'm going to tell your listeners, but I was home on a Friday morning because a lot of times I work all day Saturday on this job. So Friday was home with the granddaughter swimming in my swimming pool. I had the school board meeting on because they were trying to decide what to send the kids back. And I get this little call, the governor's coming to Apopka and he'll be here in 1 hour. And so it's like, great. So we get ready to go. And I take Leah, with me. Actually, I had to take her back to her mommy who was studying. I'm sorry I couldn't take her to the conference. And the governor came down here because our unemployment rates in Orange County are the highest in the whole state. There's so many people suffering. And so he brought us, it was 7 million, but some of that went to Orlando. And so now we have a new program after he brought us additional money, which we're very grateful for. And I was so honored to be there to receive the check along with Mayor Demings. And so now we have an eviction diversion program, and I'm going to have to look down a little bit because I don't want to misstate anything here, and I'm going to read part of it. But very, very concerned that with the federal government not being able to work together and extend the benefits that we're going to have folks here through no fault of their own being evicted. So again, Mayor Deming's staff's done a phenomenal job to set up a new program. And so I want to read to them the eligibility because this program will open on August 25th. Right. And so just know that, we really do care about our people. We know they're struggling. And so it's a lot of work trying to be fair, get other organizations to help us. So the Orange County Bar will be administering this program. And honestly, we may not have it perfect. They've had to do this quickly, set up criteria. And if it turns out we have money left over, we will broaden the criteria and try to help more people. We do not want this money not getting out where it's needed. So here at this point is the eligibility. You have to be an Orange County resident to
Mhm.
apply for this eviction diversion program. The property is the tenant's primary residence. The lease is in this tenant's name, and they are responsible for paying a portion or the full amount. One or more members of the household have experienced a documented involuntary loss of income, and we know we have thousands, particularly in the tourism industry, restaurants, what have you, that have occurred to the COVID-19 public health emergency. There'll have to be some documentation because we have to
Right.
be accountable and make sure we're not allowing for any kind of fraud. So we have to have documents with the date of the job loss, reduction in employment hours or pay between March 13th, 2020 to September 1st, 2020. The tenant must have received an eviction notice, a letter from their landlord to participate, or even a referral from the court system. At this point, they have to be at least 2 months behind in rent, and the arrears had to have accrued between April 1st and August 11th of this year. No other person in the household can have applied for this program. So one application in this residence lease per property. And then they're required to certify that their household income, that they had household income prior to April 1st. And then eligibility is based on very low and low income, because we're really trying to avoid homelessness here. And then they have to demonstrate the ability to pay rent after the arrears are paid by Orange County. And so there's more information on this at www.ocfl.net//Orange Cares. And again, this is, one of many programs we've already had that we're administering as county government. And we're proud to do so. There's really been a lot of work going into helping our folks. I always say government closest to the people is best. So here's a case where we really have to get involved to help our residents.
Absolutely, absolutely. So guys, before we go to a quick commercial break, here is the web link right here on the screen for you to take down, and we make sure it is big so you can see it, whether you're watching on your phone or on your laptop, whatever the case may be. Make sure to go to that site, whether you are applying for the eviction diversion program or if you are that small business owner that needs to apply. Since Commissioner Moore just gave us a news flash, today is the last day to go ahead and apply for that grant. So be sure to take a look at that. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back and get into a little bit more with Commissioner Christine Moore. Stay tuned.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, and we are back with the Politics and Power series with Orange County Commissioner Christine Moore. So thank you for breaking down the current funding programs and everything that's available for Orange County residents. So kind of talk about are there any projects on the community level that you've been able to work on or have heard about from your residents or your constituents in District 2 that they've been able to work on to be able to help each other?
It's kind of a tough time because, our parks are still closed, and that has certainly caused some consternation and harm to some businesses. Even Kelly Park has been closed, and I know our staff just can't until the numbers come down and we can assure that we're not spreading the virus. That is certainly still a concern for us. On a positive note, the budgets were set and Orange County funds programs ahead of time. And so we've been able to continue a whole lot of our normal, regular work. And, coming from school board, I was really mindful of the equity piece. And so equity and infrastructure. And so what does that mean? are your sidewalks up to snuff? Have they, have they been upgraded? Because after years you get damage from tree roots, what have you. Are your roads getting, paved on those 12 to 15-year cycles?
Mhm.
And all the public works infrastructure work has really continued unabated. And so I've been really proud of that. I've been working on sidewalks in some of my lower income areas near schools, fancy that. And I'd always had a heart when I knew we were within 2 miles of a school and a community of getting these sidewalks done. So up in the Apopka area, the Chalet North area, hundreds. In fact, at one time I know there were 300 children walking to Level Elementary. The road was not paved and there were no sidewalks. So I've been rectifying that. It just always disturbed me. And when we rebuilt that school, the land was too low and the principal would be out there in waders every time the afternoon rains. And so there I was a case where I got the school district to bring in 60 some trucks of fill to get the property up. So, that's ridiculous that children and staff had to stand in water every afternoon. So now I'm on the county and I'm still working on, I was aware a lot of those things. Northcrest has been my infrastructure makeover. And so here, this lovely area, the hills, nice sturdy homes from the late 60s, late 50s, early 60s. And they had no infrastructure, no lighting, no sidewalks, no sewer. And,
Wow.
you take that over 40 or 50 years and you can imagine. And I've met all these folks. They're so dear. And so we're on about 4 months of getting the sidewalks together. And then I'll get the folks together because it's Duke Energy who installs lights. And that is a very difficult process because the people have to pay. And it ends up about $300 a home, an initial charge. And then, you're down to $20, $30, $40 a year just for your share of electricity. But I usually like to start with the sidewalks because that community was $440,000 of sidewalks that the county's putting in. And, I'm just worried about next year. I don't know what those budgets are going to be like, if I'll be able to continue with this process, because our hotels are hurting. And that's where a lot of these unemployed fake people are coming from. I anticipate they're going to be looking for property tax reductions, which then means our budgets are going to have to come back a little. So they're going to have to shrink. I mean, you can't raise taxes on people who are already struggling. That's why, everything is so interrelated. So in terms of mental health, we've had a lot of folks talking to us about that. And so I'm a big proponent of continuing. The county has put extra mental health counselors in South Apopka and over in the Rosemount area. And I know that that'll be a real important issue for me as we look at funding. So we have a tough year coming up. The budget cuts for us will probably start next year if we don't get this. We need to see the, what's the word I'm looking for? The inoculations, the vaccines,
Right.
It's looking like tourism is not going to come back till we have the vaccine and people feel safe to travel again. So in the meantime, we have to be very, conscious of that everybody's hurting and to remember we're all in this together.
Very well said. And I did want to transition a little bit, kind of ask you also about when we interviewed face to face, you had shared your vision for District 2. So I wanted to follow up with that. How much do you feel you've been able to bring to fruition, and what do you feel is left to do?
Well, it's only been 2 years, and a lot of these are large capital projects. And, I'm the beneficiary of a $4 million program enhancement at Magnolia Park. And so that money was put off in an account, so it's still there. And so one of the exciting things is we're getting the Coast to Coast Trail extended through my Pine Hills and Lockhart section. I'm getting a missing link from the West Orange Trail over to Magnolia Park, and this incredible program that was started by Commissioner Nelson, and I tweaked it a little bit. And so bathrooms are being put in there, a dock, a playground, an inclusive playground for our children with special needs. And then what he had wanted was a bike rental concession. Mm-hmm. And I changed the room up to be a little more multi-purpose, and have met with Friends of Lake Apopka, Joe Dunn, and some of our county staff from the Vera Carter Center. And as many people know, I have taken children on field trips out there for years. You know, our children, they're our future, and I want them to understand so much about how we preserve our water bodies. And we're blessed in District 2, from Lake Apopka to Wekiva Springs to Rock Springs to Lake Ola. You know, Harris Chain starts in Lake County, and we've done a lot of damage to our lakes. So the more we talk to students about, and their parents, their grandparents, right, about all these best practices to protect our lakes, the better. So this has become ecotourism at Magnolia Park and what have you. So that project started by Mayor Nelson. I just expanded it a little bit we didn't spend any more money. We just adjusted a little bit. And because we're not going to I would love to tell you that we could go back to the glory days of fishing tournaments when we had 29 fish camps on the lake, and they came all over the world for bass fishing. Wow. We're not there yet, but it's going in the right direction. And I don't know how many people are aware the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive that's run by St. John Water Management is a treasure. And it's been something folks can do on the weekends in this pandemic, because you don't really get out of your car a whole lot. Get to see the alligators, the birds, and understand the technology of how those farms in the 40s started off with best of intentions. You know, we were trying to feed America during World War II. And I don't know if they didn't understand the science. I don't know. But, you know, when you took that water in and out with the incredible technology of the locks, well, they took the fertilizers and the pesticides in and out, and it killed the lake. And so now we are trying to restore. Thankfully, the state of Florida bought the farms out. But then, of course, you know, we lost jobs. It's always some yin and yang and difficulty. That's what's hard about being a commissioner. If there was a perfect solution, we would all do it. And many times we're the one has to balance all these disparate interests and try to come up with something that's good policy for the entirety of the area. So I have so many projects I could talk to you for hours. You know, we're doing right now, I'm putting together driving tours, because I just have the most wonderful area. And so taking our people to the springs, to Lake Apopka, to historic sites and Claricona and Paradise Heights and downtown Apopka and Tangerine and Plymouth. It's just an amazing area because we're old. We're one of the oldest sections of the county. And I just have so many historic stories to tell. And I don't know if we have time. The one that I really did some work and research on is Plymouth. And if we have time, I'll tell you that one story. But just so fascinating. I love my community and I want the best for all of them. So I like doing projects that helps them to really achieve their best.
Awesome. And you know, thank you for sharing that with us and kind of giving us that insight into District 2, because I don't know how many of our viewers kind of understand what that entails, what District 2 is comprised of. So definitely thank you for sharing that. We're going to take one more quick commercial break, guys, and we're going to come back and kind of touch on Commissioner Moore's very, very heart of hearts, which is schools, and, you know, kind of get her thoughts on the reopening process. So stay tuned. We're going to come back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin Clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin Clean.
The kid does have a point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, we are back with Orange County Commissioner Christine Moore. So yeah, I wanted to wrap up. I know we're starting to wind down to that 2 o'clock mark, but as someone who served on the Orange County Public School Board for 10 years, and like your heart is in education, tell us what your thoughts have been concerning the whole reopening process, the national debate, how the school opening rollout happened here in Orange County. Kind of talk about that.
Well, everybody asks if I'm glad I'm not on the school board. In a way, I am. The decisions that they had to make in that last board meeting, I watched it. Several of the new board members, you could just see the depth of their emotion. So you have to get children back to school because of the mental health, and they're not, particularly the younger ones, just don't do as well in that virtual format. And even today, there are children that are AWOL. We don't know where they are, and so you just have to have safe face-to-face options for them. And then you have to really adhere to CDC guidelines to keep your staff safe and trying to make sure they're in the right placement. A staff member with some comorbidities probably needs to be in that classroom only working with students that are learning virtually. So it is a very, very difficult time for Orange County Public Schools. And so I've been working on my AHA POPCA Explorer program, that Lockhart Explorer program. And, I just want to be a help to all of those families because I know what a difficult time it is for them. Gotcha.
And, thanks for sharing that. So you have 3 minutes. You're able to share the story that you wanted to share. Go ahead.
Oh, I do, about Plymouth.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I adore all ages, but 4th grade, they're the ones that learns Florida history. And I'm not sure they're going to get to go to St. Augustine this year, but we could teach them the basic principles by all these local things, places here. And so Plymouth, I'm a very curious person. I'm like, how did that all get started? Now, when I go through Plymouth, it's been very blighted. These large warehouses that were for packing and shipping citrus. Well, we're not doing much orange production in Northwest Orange County. It was the indoor foliage capital of the world, and the orange crop was what really sustained folks, beginning of the 1900s. So we know that Plymouth started out as a place for shipping citrus because it was right on the train tracks. And then every time you got a pandemic, 1918, or a freeze, 1894, when you didn't have any oranges, things receded. People were out of work, what we're dealing with today. And finally in the 80s, that was really sort of the last straw, and General Electric left, but Minute Maid kind of changed into Coca-Cola, and that was one of the few things that survived. But what's so exciting to me, it's just happening. It's like with your study of history, I realize when you hear things are changing, I know it's history. I know it's something modern. 429 came up there, and we've been watching. We go on that lake, and we can look out at the warehouse area and Lake Apopka and go, someone is building a large warehouse. Who is it? Fine, what? That's City of Apopka. They've annexed. So I didn't have the inside track. It's Goya and Amazon. And I'm so excited. Mellissa, that Plymouth is coming back after 30 or 40 years of being in decline. So that's my fun story.
Awesome. And kind of a bit of breaking news there. So thank you for sharing that for sure. And, again, thank you for being available to come on the show today. We talked about a few things, but is there any specific thing that we haven't discussed that you want to make sure the audience knows before you go?
Just to call our office if they have any concerns from, garbage, infrastructure problems, mosquito control, animal control. There's 311 or my office at 407-836-5850. And we're here for any problem, large or small. We're always wanting to help our people.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Orange County Commissioner Christine Moore, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys already know this is the Thursday edition of the FNN Politics and Power Show. And you guys are going to see me later, of course, at 5 p.m. for the evening news rundown. And at long last, guys, I know you guys have been missing our lovely Jamesia Stoudemire. She is back today with the Entertainment 4 for 4. So you'll be able to see her this afternoon. She'll be joining me at 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, tomorrow is Friday, so Friday is action-packed. And as Jenny Rosario de Casiano gave you guys a heads up last Friday, she won't be in to do her show. However, the lovely Jamesia will be sitting in for Jennifer, and she'll be interviewing Grammy-nominated songwriter, producer, and actor Kevin McCall. So be sure to tune in at 1 p.m. Eastern time for that interview, guys. And of course, as I mentioned, I will be back a little bit later with the evening news rundown, so be sure to tune in at 5 p.m. And in case you have not yet, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. You'll find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So you can follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook at Florida National News. You'll find us on YouTube at Florida National News as well. And for those who are interested in advertising, you're looking for a platform to share your brand or your brand message, be sure to shoot us an email at ads@floridanationalnews.com to find out more. In the meantime, guys, thank you for tuning in. We will be back to our regular 1-hour format. We wanted to make sure to do this particular special show, though. We wanted to give Commissioner Moore the opportunity to come on the show. And once again, we at Florida National News thank her for joining us. In the meantime, guys, have a great rest of your afternoon. I'll see you at 5 p.m. Take care.